Lucasfilm is one of the most legendary production companies in history, thanks in large part to its most successful property, Star Wars. The original film changed the entertainment industry in many ways, spawning new filmmaking techniques, theme park tie-ins, merchandising, and much more. Ever since 2012, though, Disney has owned Lucasfilm, and they continue to produce Star Wars and other Lucasfilm properties at an accelerated pace. How exactly did Disney come to own Lucasfilm, and what does the future look like with Disney at the helm? The story behind Disney and Lucasfilm's introductory partnership, Star Tours, originates from a little-known canceled Disneyland project, Discovery Bay. Discovery Bay was a planned development of Disneyland, which would have been an entire land taking up the space formerly used by the Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland attraction. The land originated from an idea by legendary Imagineer Tony Baxter, who was designing Big Thunder Mountain Railroad at the time. Baxter decided that the space behind Big Thunder could be used for this new land. Discovery Bay was to be themed as a technologically advanced late 1800s San Francisco, featuring attractions based on Disney properties such as the Island at the Top of the World and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The land would have all tied in with the backstory Baxter wrote for Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, which explained what happened to all of the gold from that mountain.
Discovery Bay is kind of a once-only place in time. It's a Victorian place that occurred at the turn of the century. It's the kind of place that Jules Verne or H.G. Wells might have inhabited. So you'll actually be able to, for instance, board the Nautilus and have a very elegant meal down below the water while you're being serenaded on the pipe organ and looking out at all the scenic wonders of the ocean floor from those overhead windows. This is just one of the adventures that might go into here. There's, like I said, a flight on an aerial suspended monorail system that looks like a dirigible, and a time machine.
One new attraction at Discovery Bay would have been a motion simulator attraction called the Nautilus. The Nautilus would have been an intense submarine-themed ride led by Captain Nemo, built on top of a motion simulator base. The Nautilus attraction concept would go on to be scrapped for two reasons, though. Technology at the time wasn't advanced enough for that type of motion simulator, and the failure of the Disney film The Island at the Top of the World caused development of Discovery Bay to be cancelled altogether. The idea of a motion simulator ride at Disneyland was shelved for a few years until the Disney film The Black Hole came out in 1979. Tony Baxter and the Imagineers at Disney designed a new motion simulator ride based on that film that would allow guests to choose their own ride experience. Unfortunately, that ride was again scrapped, as the film proved to be too unpopular to warrant such an expensive new Disneyland ride. In response, Baxter and then Disney CEO Walt's son-in-law Ron Miller came up with the idea of approaching George Lucas about bringing a Star Wars attraction to Disneyland. They set a meeting and Lucas loved the idea. Apparently, Lucas was tossing ideas around for his own theme park, but upon realizing it would cost too much money, decided that an attraction at Disneyland would be perfect. Baxter and the Imagineers quickly went to work designing a new attraction based in the Star Wars universe with Lucas now on board. They came up with a roller coaster attraction that would start on Dagobah. Your roller coaster train would appear to be levitated by Yoda himself, and then would move through the Star Wars universe, culminating in an audience-chosen ending where they would destroy the Death Star in methods as seen in either episodes 4 or 6. Shortly after that meeting, Miller was ousted from Disney and replaced by Michael Eisner. Eisner was brought on to strengthen the company, and to do so, he decided to look for new ways to make Disney parks more appealing to a younger audience.
I think the gamble is not fiddling with things, being complacent, saying it's all great. Pretty soon you find your audience has grown up and moved on to other things, and now you're just a nostalgia museum.
It was around this time that Baxter and the Imagineers completed their designs for the Star Wars-themed roller coaster, but there was one huge issue. The ride would necessitate an unrealistically huge building in which to house it. The compromise? Instead of a roller coaster, bring back the idea of a motion simulator, which Baxter had been kicking around since his designs for Discovery Bay many years earlier. This idea was the perfect solution. It was futuristic, played right into the Star Wars brand, and the Imagineers could tell practically any story they wanted. When Baxter presented the designs to Eisner, Eisner decided to hinge the decision on the opinion of an unlikely source, his 14-year-old son. His son loved the idea though, and Star Tours began construction. During the early construction of Star Tours, Eisner decided to approach Michael Jackson about a new attraction concept. Eisner wanted to create a new show centered around the singer, which would feature a 3D film accompanied by smoke, lighting, lasers, and other special effects inside a live theater. Michael Jackson, who happened to be a huge Disney fan himself, loved the idea. Jackson did have one requirement though. The film had to be directed by Steven Spielberg. Having worked with them on Star Tours, Eisner decided to approach Lucasfilm with producing the new attractions film. But there was a big problem. Spielberg, who happened to be very close friends with George Lucas, wasn't available. Lucas and Eisner decided instead to hire Francis Ford Coppola, a legendary director himself and also a friend of Lucas's, to direct. Jackson agreed to move forward with the project under Coppola's direction, and the film Captain EO was produced.
The wizardry of Lucas. The mastery of Coppola. The phenomenal music and dance of Michael Jackson. Captain EO.
Captain EO opened at Disneyland in 1986, just a few months before Star Tours opened as well. Both attractions received excellent reviews from the public, and Lucasfilm's first partnerships with Disney proved extremely successful. Disney would go on to build Star Tours attractions at their Florida, Tokyo, and Paris parks just a few years later, and Star Tours quickly became a Disney Parks staple attraction. At the same time, Disney was planning their next park in Florida, MGM Studios. Because of their partnerships with Lucasfilm and George Lucas, Disney came up with the idea of creating a show based on Indiana Jones, also a Lucasfilm property. Lucasfilm agreed, and the two companies began working on the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. This show was planned to open with the rest of the park in May 1989, but was delayed due to both Disney and Lucasfilm determining that it wasn't ready for audiences. The show held public rehearsals, however, until it opened formally in August that same year, marking Disney and Lucasfilm's third theme park collaboration. The success of the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular led to the Imagineers at Disney coming up with an Indiana Jones themed attraction at Disneyland. Some of the original ideas for this ride included a walkthrough attraction, a minecart roller coaster, and even a Jungle Cruise-like system to ferry guests to the main attraction's loading area. The Imagineers finally settled on the attraction we know today, which was one of the most technologically advanced theme park rides ever built at the time. It has since been followed up with two more attractions, a very similar version at Tokyo Disney Sea, and a mine train roller coaster similar to the original attraction's designs at Disneyland Paris. Lucasfilm and Disney would go on to work largely independently for the next several years, mainly working together just on their theme park properties. Captain EO closed at Disneyland in 1996, but received a limited run at Epcot from 2010 to 2015 in honor of Michael Jackson's death. The other Lucasfilm Disney rides continue to operate today, except for the original Star Tours. In 2005, George Lucas confirmed that a follow-up to Star Tours was in the works. Filming for this new attraction took place in 2009, and Star Tours closed for refurbishment in 2010 at both Disneyland and MGM, now called Disney's Hollywood Studios. Star Tours: The Adventures Continue opened at both parks in 2011. Right around this time, George Lucas talked of retiring from the film business to focus on smaller independent productions. Disney approached Lucas with a distribution deal for Lucasfilm, but Lucas wasn't interested. Instead, he wanted to sell Lucasfilm altogether. Disney decided to purchase Lucasfilm in 2012 for just over $4 billion, half of which in cash and the other half in Disney stock. With producer Kathleen Kennedy now at the helm, Disney immediately went to work on more Star Wars films and series. They wasted no time and started working on a sequel trilogy, spin-off movies, an animated series, and more. They also have a new Indiana Jones movie in the works to be released in 2020. But what about the future of the Star Wars franchise under Disney? Well, when it comes to the films, Disney CEO Bob Iger announced in 2017 two major updates: that they were developing a live-action Star Wars TV series, and that The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson is developing a brand new Star Wars trilogy. Kathleen Kennedy subsequently announced that this new trilogy won't be connected to the Skywalker family, and will feature all new characters and a part of the Star Wars galaxy that hasn't yet been explored in any previous Star Wars story. And when it comes to the Disney parks, there's a lot of great things on the horizon. At both Disneyland in California and Disney's Hollywood Studios in Florida, a brand new land called Star Wars Galaxy's Edge has been under construction since April 2016. This land was described by Disney to take place in the new world of Batuu, which they described as follows. This remote outpost on the Galaxy's Edge was once a busy crossroads along the old sub-lightspeed trade routes, but its prominence was bypassed by the rise of hyperspace travel. Now home to those who prefer to stay out of the mainstream, it has become a thriving port for smugglers, rogue traders, and adventurers traveling between the frontier and uncharted space. It's also a convenient safe haven for those intent on avoiding the expanding reach of the First Order. While the two may be new to us, it is clearly already familiar to the many characters of the Star Wars saga as a stepping off point for epic adventures. This new land will be extensively themed to the Star Wars universe and will feature several new rides and attractions that will draw guests right into the world of the movies. Also coming to the Florida version is a brand new hotel, currently referred to as simply the Star Wars Hotel. This new hotel has been called Disney's most experimental concept to date by Disney Parks chairman Bob Chapek, as the hotel will be 100% immersive. Everything and everyone within the hotel will be all true to the world of Star Wars, and the entire building will appear as a Star Wars starship inside and out. There's no timeline for the opening of the Star Wars Hotel, but both Star Wars Galaxy's Edge lands will open in 2019. So, what do you think? Do you like that Disney purchased Lucasfilm, or should it have stayed in the hands of George Lucas? Let us know in the comments down below, and always remember to like and subscribe for more episodes of Disney Declassified.